How long are you willing to tolerate waiting for the punchline? This line alone encapsulates the emptiness that is One Punch Man. The thing is, I don't blame people for their ignorance of good storytelling. They know not what they did. To be honest, there's going to be a bit of bias and frustration with the fanbase, particularly within One Punch Man. One Punch Man is a great show in theory. In theory, a parody of superheroes, while not new a la Deadpool, with the setting of One Punch Man, has loads of potential. A show where someone's so OP that they literally destroy the entire show. That may be exactly where the problem with One Punch Man lies. It desperately clings to an ineffective narrative format. Imagine watching a comedian who is really funny with political humor, but you have to spend about 2 to 4 episodes of the comedian listing bullet points, which is supposed to feed into the funny joke. Humor is meant to make everyone laugh, and One Punch Man has done that well enough for me. However, my problem is how the pacing is handled.
When speaking upon the series One Punch Man, the main issue is Saitama himself being the least interesting character that's overpowered for no reason. There can be a monster fighting S-class heroes, and it's winning. Then as soon as Saitama shows up, it's too obvious that Saitama is going to win in one punch. Saitama's fights are literally the most anticlimactic part of the series. Season 2 of the show makes it clear how anticlimactic it really is. There's a big fish monster that's going to take over the land. Guess what? Gary Sue is here to fix the problem in one punch. Basically, the Saitama logic is defeating overpowered villains with an even more overpowered main character every time a moment seems dire. Saitama wins every fight for no reason just because he's the hero of the show, without anything new or interesting happening to him as a character, because it all ends the exact same way.
It is all supposed to build up to a great fight. One where One Punch Man functions in both a comedic but also epic form. He's the dude who beats everything in one punch. Remember my previous analogy about the comedian? The point is simple. How long are you willing to take abuse for one singular joke, of which said build-up is for a one-note gag? I don't want to hear bullet points as to why Trump is bad. Wait 2 hours for the joke to come, and then the joke is about how Hillary is a goblin.
I don't want to see him kissing goblins, ingratiating goblins, in bed with a goblin. I don't want to see him kissing goblins, succubus with goblins, ingratiating goblins, in bed with a goblin. I don't want to see him kissing goblins, ingratiating goblins, in bed with a goblin. I don't want to see him kissing goblins, ingratiating goblins, in bed with a goblin. Dump it.
Seeing it happen so often makes Saitama become predictable and boring, like a typical shonen protagonist. Saitama's a one-trick pony as a character for the most part, but the jokes with Saitama are usually cheap bald jokes.
Jokes are supposed to be effective and quick to the point. A format where the main character wins in one punch is not supposed to be built upon needless exposition and or mosquito scenes. The biggest problem is that any hype is single-handedly driven by fan reaction, and not at all driven by actual narrative stakes or proper pacing. For what it is worth, I still somewhat enjoyed the content. I didn't care for its build-up, but for what little comedy is shown, it is rather fun. It takes far too long to get to the fights and punchlines. Inevitably, the world building is shite, despite some decent character development for Saitama.
Saitama doesn't feel like a major character. If he were a side character playing the mentor, then he'd be more valuable as a character. Saitama's life is basically a boring soap opera about his daily life and drama from other people that only talk about his monstrous strength. Saitama fights are literally the equivalent to a Michael Bay film. A lack of anything interesting with plenty of visuals to hide how boring it is. I know that Saitama is intended to be a disheartened character, but that's the issue with that. He's not showing much effort. Every fight he has isn't a real fight, but more of how long can he last against Gary Sue, the ultimate fisting machine. The fights feel unearned. Even though that's the joke, Saitama lacks any conviction to try in all of his fights. It shows a lack of showing personality aside from the slice of life-like lifestyle gets the DBZ treatment with something over the top happening. If not that, a fight that Saitama has no interest in happens. Then Genos comes around, thinking that Saitama can teach him to be strong. All he can get from Saitama is really the idea of raw power is all it takes to win.
Which is a major problem. He doesn't understand how strife and how you overcome it is how strength works. Complete dependency on Saitama is his greatest weakness, and as a result, the characterization makes sense for Genos through his constant defeats. Speaking of which, Ninja Dude! The Ninja Dude is my favorite character solely for the fact of contrast with Saitama. Dark, broody, and takes himself too seriously. Or at least, until he met Saitama. On that fateful day, little did the ninja realize that he would become a eunuch. Might as well transition after that fated punch to the Neds, because the ensuing dick explosion would be enough to make Megumi jealous. Yeah, I'm gonna call the ninja Samantha now. Because there's no way that a punch that obliterates the mouth of a fucking giant is going to go easy on a dick that just lovingly caresses Saitama's fist. Albeit I hear good things about the villains, so hopefully as I continue into the One Punch Man story, the pacing picks up. Make sure to make some fun conversation in the comments section, because despite my gripes about the show, I like talking about anime. In the end, the biggest problem One Punch Man has is the fatalistic, self-defeating clashing of concepts. It takes far too long to get to the punchline, and when it does, Saitama's own ability to beat things in one punch somehow makes us more dissatisfied than Saitama himself. People will try to talk about its animation, but the Sakuga is just as empty as the narrative. Flashy color schemes, over-reliance on Michael Bay levels of explosions. I say that while the product feels empty, I still respect the massive amount of work and effort put in. I love, admire, and respect both passion and expertise. The thing is, a lot of people question as to whether Season 2 has any merit, and the responses are mixed, to put it respectfully. Ranging from utter disconnect, such as people who felt like they were missing something important, like Gegek, to unearned praise. I can answer their question with one simple term: rose-colored glasses. Season 2 did not have the well-famed Madhouse working on Season 2, let alone any of the original staffing. So sadly, One Punch Man had to rely on its biggest weakness, narrative, and how it functions. I will give credit where credit is due, as in my opinion, it is massively improved from what little I've seen of Season 2. Well done on improving your narrative quality, but it is still only up to par. Narrative has always been the main specialty of JC's staff, aka the people in charge of making Season 2. So with this level of improvement is bare minimum. Season 2 is empty because the mental gymnastics that keep us enjoying the content is a simple stimulus drug. When we finally crash from our high, oftentimes our symptoms include a sense of listlessness and depression, and I think a major problem is that previously mentioned rose-colored glasses had kept fans on a major endorphin high. So once all the visual stimulation truly ceased to be properly stimulated due to subtly developed mental dependencies on overly large sakuga, in the end, you end up dealing with the worst kind of flowers for Algernon syndrome. That's why you have to look at the show from a cynical, technical lens. Too much is too much, and quite frankly, if you've only watched the build up to one fight, took some time, do the same for the next fight ad nauseum, you'll find out it wasn't as good as you thought it was. You get a major endorphin rush if you consume things all at once, and quite frankly, I cannot understand wanting to torture yourself by watching One Punch Man weekly.
The world building isn't all that impressive. We don't get much information about the heroes that protect each city, with the exception of a few characters like Watchdog Man, that is only devoted to City Q. The world building isn't really prominent within the show. They just feel like places, not a special location that haven't been seen before. Every background in One Punch Man is just feels like a bland background.
Speaking of world building, let's talk about the supporting cast. I love how Genos has a mistaken idea of strength. It is kind of reflective of people who try to buck the norm. How modern women want to be strong and independent, when in my view, avoidance is the exact opposite of strength. Is it not strong to accept the part of you that exists that you may not care for? There are so many wonderful things in this world that can be provided, and quite frankly, a lot of things women have that I am curious to taste, but also vice versa. But enough of me being a perv. I mean, all you have to sustain your drug in regards to One Punch Man is sharing how awesome Saitama is with fellow fanboys. Even then, you'll get less quality of discussion than the most retarded aspects of Twitter, or hell forbid, Reset Era. So the answer as to why you're disappointed is because you overestimated the quality of the show overall. I understand wanting to love and respect the visuals. I really do, because they are jaw-dropping, and I swear each animator needs a fucking raise. However, what makes them empty is because of what such jaw-dropping animation is used to present. Visual aesthetics are artistic touches to make the experience just a tinge bit more cathartic, and it is not demonstrated any better than shows like Madoka and Black Rock Shooter, where the visual aesthetics make a bland or barely engaging story look amazing. Just absolutely amazing. So it comes to no surprise of mine that people fall for the illusionary tricks, such as unnecessarily flashy color schemes, and a good use of transitions between actions and frames. It is a shame that it must be used to hide the non-existent value of the story and its pacing. I hope it lives up to its visual counterpart, and quickly, but I highly doubt it. I hope you enjoyed my presentation. Thank you to Kate Sith Productions, hey, got it right for once, for joining on with me on this discussion. Just know that this is simply criticism instead of insult, and I am simply rather clumsy in how I present things sometimes. It is a work in progress for me. Now just remember, ladies and gentlemen, to put in a quarter, to try again.
Charging into a goblin's nest, some goblin vomit and slop and blood on it, especially up to his ankles. Trump charging into a goblin's nest, some goblin vomit and slop. Goblin vomit and slop. I'm not expecting him to not get dirty slop. Kissing goblins, appreciating goblins, succubus with goblins, in bed with a goblin. Kissing goblins, appreciating goblins. I just want to catch him in bed with a goblin, bed with a